Feel like you're being pulled in 1,000 directions? Let's fix that. Download your free rebalancing toolkit and learn how to design an optimized week that lets you feel like you have it all. Get the goods at brilliantbalance.net/have-it-all.
I'm Cherylanne Skolnicki, and this is Brilliant Balance, the show for working women who are ready to shine. Each week, I bring you ideas, inspiration, and insight on balance, business, and getting it all done gracefully. You ready? Let's be brilliant. Hello, you're listening to episode 59 of the Brilliant Balance podcast. And today I want you to stop playing a game you may have fallen into when you became a mother. It's a game I'm calling Self on the Shelf. So I want to unpack this a little bit and tell you where this idea came from. I have been holiday shopping like a boss for the last week or so. I actually took a day off to shop with my mom, which is one of my most favorite holiday traditions. We always take a full day off and kind of shop from morning till evening together. We get to go to breakfast and lunch, and it's like super fun. And I did some shopping with my husband as well, which is fun in entirely different ways. It's almost like a full date day. When we really get to enjoy the process of shopping instead of, it feeling like a chore that we're shoving into the spaces in between in our lives. All of this shopping had me out in the stores. And one of the things that you see everywhere, right, when you're shopping at this time of year is that sort of ubiquitous game, Elf on the Shelf. And, you sort of look past it at this point, like it's been around for so long and they've had all the permutations of different types of elves and different costumes. And it's actually not a game that we play in our house. We have a different elf who visits us, one who has been visiting our family for generations, I'm told. So Tiptoe arrives around the 1st of December and leaves notes in our house for the children during the night that they find when they wake up in the morning, commenting on different, things they've done or times that he's observed them doing something especially nice, or also times that he's observed them doing something not so nice, so he can caution them a bit. So anyhow, we don't do Elf on the Shelf, but it's everywhere, right? I've seen this thing everywhere. And at some point, you have those moments where like the perspective just shifts and you see it a little bit differently. Well, this year, I started seeing Elf on the Shelf through this different lens. And when I made this shift and I started thinking about this term, Self on the Shelf, it really reminded me of a pattern that I see a lot of women falling into in December. And the pattern is really about viewing ourselves as the creator of the holiday, right? The elf, essentially, making the magic, but not necessarily as a participant in the holiday. And so I started thinking of it as though we were this elf that sort of comes into town or comes into the house and runs around like crazy, trying to create a magical and fun experience for everyone else. And then just when the fun's about to begin, we sort of go back to our seat on the shelf and take on more of an observer role versus a participant. And so that's what I'm referring to as this dynamic of self on the shelf. I will tell you that when you talk to adult women, especially mothers, most of us have started to see our role in this way, right? We're the maker of the magic. We somehow don't feel like we either have the time to or like we deserve to participate in the experience. So let's unpack this a little. Let's look at some examples from the holiday season where you might find yourself falling into this pattern. And I want you to think about what's underneath it. What's maybe driving you to behave in this way? And then I want you to think about what would it take for you to be a full participant in the holidays this year? Okay, so let's take gift giving. I am willing to bet that you are the person in your household who plans the gift list for I don't know, 400 million people, that you buy for, your parents, your siblings, your children, your nieces and nephews, neighbors, teachers, right? All of the gifts. And what I have come to understand is that for many of you, despite all of that planning and emphasis on shopping for others, there is often not a single gift under the tree for you. Maybe there's the gift that the kids made in school for their parents, or maybe there's something that you buy for yourself and tuck underneath the tree. But for so many women, it seems there's no one really buying something for them. And when you dig a little bit deeper and try to understand why, what you find out is we've often told everyone not to, right? It's okay. I don't really need anything. Or someone will buy something for us and then we say, why did you do that? You shouldn't have done that, right? And it gets returned. And after a number of years of that pattern, we're essentially out of the game, right? And we're back in that role of being the person who's responsible for gifting, but not someone who is able to receive, right? We're not really a full participant in that cycle anymore. And I want you to think about that. If that's the pattern that you're in, what's really underneath it? And listen, of course it's good to be a giver. Of course it's good to create those experiences for other people. But the cycle is incomplete if you're unable to receive. It's about both. It's about being able to give with generosity and to receive graciously. Okay? That's the gifting world. Let's look at baking, right? Holiday baking, all of those cookies, hours and hours of baking. The question is, do you even eat them? Or are they, for the kids, or they're for the neighbors, or they're for the school, right? Maybe if you eat them, you eat it on the sly. It's like, oh, this one broke, right? I'll have this corner. Or, oh, I'm just cleaning up, so I'll just eat these, pieces of cookies that sort of fell apart. But when is the last time you actually sat down and poured yourself a cup of coffee or a cup of tea or a glass of milk and actually ate a fully formed cookie just for you? For a lot of us, it's been a long time, right? For a lot of us, it's this cookie baking and all of this treat making is for other people. We are the maker of the magic, not a participant in the outcome of it, right? And that's what I mean by playing self on the shelf. We bustle into the kitchen, we create all this stuff for everyone else, and then we stand back and observe while everyone else enjoys the fruits of our labor.
Feel like you're being pulled in 1,000 directions? Let's fix that. Download your free rebalancing toolkit and learn how to design an optimized week that lets you feel like you have it all. Get the goods at brilliantbalance.net/have-it-all.
Let's look at another example. Holiday entertaining or parties, right? The question is, how many of you are doing all of the planning and fussing and arranging and bustling and photo taking to host a party, but you're not actually in the mix. You're not actually the one who's smiling and laughing with your guests, right? You're just making sure everyone else is well fed and taken care of. And I'll tell you, this is one I can relate to. I saw an old video taken during a party that I was hosting years and years ago. And I was laughing about it later because it was like I would sort of whisk into the frame and then whisk out the other side, right? All I did was sort of zoom back and forth through the frame because my focus was on creating the experience, right? Taking food in and out of the oven, replenishing drinks, changing out the ice in the ice bucket, all of these tasks that were being done. But there was really no evidence that I had stood and had a conversation with someone. There was no evidence that I had sat down and sort of really enjoyed the meal as a participant. And I will tell you, that was an inflection point for me. Seeing that video was a really stark reminder that that's not what it's supposed to look like. That yes, hosting is wonderful, but what people are looking for is not a perfectly curated experience. They want time with you. It changed the way I thought about hosting, where my job is not to create the magic and then go stand back. right? It's to be in the mix with the people who we've invited into our home. Let's look at another one. Another example would be the holiday photo, especially the one for the card, or maybe even going to a church service on Christmas. The kids get the new outfits. They get extra time taken with their hair, right? I'm always curling the girls' hair. We work to get them in the perfect setup so they can really have a special experience at church or for that photo. And we're often grabbing something out of the closet that we've had for years. It's an afterthought, right? We're throwing our hair up in a ponytail or a bun so we can get out the door quickly. Sometimes, often, we're not even in the photo. It's something that we've created to stand back again and create and observe, but we're not really in the mix. We're not having the experience. And another example would be outdoor activities. Like I was thinking about sled riding. This is the time of year when we start to get the first snowfall and we're dragging out all the boots and mittens and snow pants and scarves and things. And that's often the way we see it as a mom, is it is our job to get everybody prepared to go have the experience, right? And we're bundling them up and zipping up all these coats and making sure everything fits. And we've, a month before made sure we bought new sizes of the things we needed. But then we send them out and we sort of watch from the window. And when is the last time that you made a snow angel or you whipped down a giant hill on a sled with them? It's been a while for most of us. And in each of these instances, all the ones we talked about, the gifting and the baking and the hosting of parties, and the holiday photo and the outdoor activities like sled riding or ice skating, in each instance, we're there, we're making the magic, creating the moment, and then we're sort of going back to our shelf to wait for the next assignment. So this year, here's my challenge to you. My challenge is take yourself off the shelf. Go get into the holiday action. Find out what it feels like to fully participate in those holiday traditions and experiences, to let yourself have some fun with it. And I want you to think about what would you have to do? What would have to happen for you to get the opportunity to be in the mix? Right? What's bubbling to mind as your excuse or your rationale for why you just can't do it? It's just not practical, right? So let's say you don't have the time. Oh, I just don't have the time. I'm so busy doing all the things. I don't have time to enjoy them. Well, would you maybe need to let go of some things to whittle down the number of things you're trying to do this month so that you can fully participate in the ones that remain? That's an idea. Would you maybe need to accept some help with the planning and the preparations so that didn't all fall to you so that you could be more fully in the experience? We'll go back to that hosting example. Having my husband fully engaged as a co-host of all of these parties has made a big difference, right? Because we're able to share the responsibilities of keeping the party flowing so both of us can actually be in the mix as well. Maybe you would have to clearly articulate what you actually wanted or needed. In order to receive a gift that you were excited about, you may have to actually tell someone what you would like. And that's hard for a lot of us, right? That's the growth opportunity, is to be able to be honest and to be clear and to share what you want, what you need, right? So that cycle can be complete. So I want you to think about these things because you are not an elf. You are a person, a human being who needs the opportunity to experience the magic of the holiday, not just create it for the others. Lots of women wonder, what happened to the joy that used to be in this season? And I'll tell you what happened. It got buried under a mountain of work and responsibilities and obligations. So I want you to find those times when you can, sprinkle a little magic around, but then run underneath it and let yourself be in the mix. Give yourself permission to do that. And I want you to see what it opens up for you to be fully in these experiences with your family. That's it for this week. By next week, we're going to be in the home stretch to Christmas, and I'm going to have just one very powerful idea for you next week. So don't miss it. It's a big one. And until then, my friends, let's be brilliant.
This is thepodcastfactory.com.